I guess the saying goes like this: the best defense is the best offense. And Yotanwa making the mountain tribes charge in like that completely exceeded the expectations from Zhao and how they could possibly react to whatever Yotanwa is going to do. And oh my god, that big panel, like the, double page spread of just seeing the mountain tribes just shred through the army, I was like, bro, that looks so good. Like, okay, Kingdom always gets me hyped up. I love the freaking fights, to the characterization, development, all that, but oh my god, when it comes to those, like, big panels that just spread out the battlefield, and you just see people charging in with horses or whatever, just cutting people up, and you just see them flying off as you just see the army charging in. I love panels like that. That's what really got me hyped when I was catching up to this series, and when I saw that happening in this chapter, I'm like, oh my god, like, yo, the art of this series is just so good. It's highly underrated, by the way. I mean, I've talked about this many times in the past. Kingdom is a very underrated series, especially when it comes to just the community and, the states and stuff. And it's sad to me not many people really realize how good this series is, but also how awesome the art is as well. I mean, just some of the panels in this chapter, just the way the art looked in general, was just spot on and some amazing stuff, and probably some of the best art I've seen in actually the recent chapters. It looked really nice. So I just want to compliment the art of this chapter before I get into, anything else. So Yotanwa, she is proving once again how crazy of a general she is, and a commander that leads the mountain tribes. She is absolutely insane. I mean, you can't really get a read on what she might do next. I mean, the way she talks, you see like this girl, but then you can't underestimate the image of her, because we have seen her savage side. We have seen what Yotanwa is capable of throughout the series of Kingdom, so we cannot underestimate her and think she's just a pretty face. No, she is someone that can be savage. She is someone that is really strong. You don't underestimate her strength. And her speeches as well, oh my god, they just get the blood pumping when you actually just read her speech. It's like, oh my god, I really wish, like, this scene was anime. I would love to hear Yotanwa having some of these speeches anime and all that, a good voice actor behind her. I would just fangasm all over the place just because of how epic most likely this would sound. But let's talk about how some of the mountain tribes are working with Yotanwa. So it is revealed that some of the generals, the commanders in Yotanwa's, army, they are there basically to prove themselves. Like, the leaders are there to gain achievements, gain medals, not to move up in ranking in the same way as, like, Shin is doing, but they're trying to get medals and achievements because they want Yotanwa to notice them, for eventually she will lay with them, for instance, have sex with them and carry their child. So this was very interesting to see how some of the mountain tribes are handling this. It's not like the typical achievements and awards that some of the other soldiers want. They're mainly gunning for the main commander, Yotanwa. They're wanting to prove themselves, and they prove themselves enough, basically, they might be able to be with her. She will acknowledge them, say, I want to be with you, I want your child. And so that was very funny, in a way, in the way this was done, and just how the dude was explaining, Yotanwa isn't a woman that you can just take. You have to make sure that you make her want you. And I like the way that was done. That just had me have a good chuckle, just to see these big buff guys that are just crazy strong, tearing through armies like it's nothing, but then they basically say, Yotanwa isn't someone we can, go and mess with. She has to need us. Like, she wants us before we can go after her. She needs to come for us first. That was just great. Like I said, I had a good laugh with that, and just some good stuff with Kingdom, and it really adds some, characterization to, some of the soldiers in Yotanwa's army, and kind of how they operate, and their motives as well. So, let's talk about one of the big points of this chapter, is the fact that the commander that Yotanwa is facing, the general of the army she is currently facing, he is getting replaced. Now, apparently, from the translation notes in this chapter, there was a mistranslation in last week's chapter. I think the dude's name is Shun, the person that Riboku is sending over to help out and all that nobody really knows much about him. Well, basically, this dude that Riboku was sent last chapter, basically, it seemed like he was going to be like another commander, like he was going to be someone being an advisor or something. That's what last chapter said. But basically, it was a translation error. It was revealed in this chapter that it was a translation error. The translation translators made a mistake, which happens. I mean, translators are, human too. They can make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But basically, though, he wasn't there just to be an advisor. He is actually taking command of the army. That changes the ball game quite a bit. This is not going to be what we expected now, because this changes how this fight is going to turn out. This war between Yotanwa and now Shun, because Shun is very, very unique. We don't really know much about this person. We don't really know much about the history or what this person is really capable of. And the same could be said for the mountain tribes in Yotanwa as well, because there's a lot of mysterious elements with these two armies, or at the very least the leaders, and so we don't know how far they would necessarily go or how different their strategies would be. However, I'm going to assume that Riboku sent Shun over there because he knows Shun could most likely face Yotanwa, or at the very least hold his own against the mountain tribe. Now hear me out. This dude barely has any information about him. Like, we don't know much about him at all, okay? We don't really know his track record, much of his track record or anything. There is a very likely possibility that this dude might have experience with fighting mountain tribes, or at the very least fighting people that are not plains folk. For instance, fighting different countries and stuff that aren't always fighting on flat lands or something, mountain stuff, like mountain tribes. I can see this man being something like that, and that's what's going to give Yotanwa, difficulty in taking this army down, is because he's kind of used to maybe mountain tribe tactics, and he's able to overcome whatever she is doing. So this is probably not going to be a one-sided battle. For instance, the mountain tribe going in and just wrecking house and destroying this army. It's definitely going to be a back and forth, because the commander, we have seen time and time again throughout Kingdom, yes, the soldiers matter. Yes, the individual matters as well. We know numbers matter too. But at the same time, though, the commander is really what plays a major role in the grand scheme of things, because if the commander is very talented, smart, can figure out what's going on in the battlefield before things go wrong, easily that commander can win a fight, even if they lack troop numbers. So, with this dude knowing probably how mountain tribes fight, or, how maybe Yotanwa fights, I could see this being very bad for Yotanwa, and she's probably going to have difficulty in taking this person down. Thankfully, Heki, he's coming over, to actually lead another, 10,000 plus troops that go help out, so thankfully, she will get, reinforcements, but it's still not going to be easy at all. Anyways, though, besides all of that, we also have it to where we move over to Shin's part of the battlefield, and basically he says the blood, there's blood in the air, he feels like a shift in the air. So, we are having it to where Shin is realizing that the battlefield is changing, and as we always known, Shin is not someone that is, a strategic general. He is someone that is a instinctual general. So because of this, we know that's probably what is going on there, what the writer's trying to imply with Shin and why he was saying something like that, because something is not right here, something is a little bit off, something is probably going to go wrong. Now, however, judging by what's going on in this chapter, we're probably going to be swapping back and forth between the battlefields, which makes me very excited. So this means that we're not going to just focus on, let's say, Yotanwa's war for right now. We're going to be swapping back and forth between the fights. So I am pretty excited about that, because it keeps things interesting, keeps it engaging, and you don't really know what to expect in each chapter. For instance, next chapter could be Yotanwa, the chapter after that can be Shin, the next chapter could be Shin again, and then Yotanwa, back and forth again. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to go down, and also seeing the constant, perspective shifts for wherever the writer wants to take it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.